The Galactic Concord met in a great dome on the planet Xylos Prime. This dome shimmered like a soap bubble under the light of twin suns. Inside, over 200 alien species sat in curved rows that rose like steps toward the ceiling. Each delegate wore robes or armor or natural coverings suited to their world. Some breathed methane, others needed cool mist, and a few floated in anti-gravity bubbles. All had come to talk about laws that affected the whole galaxy. Among them sat Liam Carter. He was human, from Earth, and new to this place. He wore a simple gray suit with a small blue pin shaped like his home planet. Most aliens paid him no mind. Humans had only just learned how to travel faster than light. They were young, untested, and unknown. To many, Earth was just another rocky ball lost in the spiral arm of an average galaxy. Liam felt small. He kept his hands folded and his eyes down, but he listened closely. The air hummed with translation fields, turning every chirp, growl, or whistle into clear speech inside each listener's mind. Today's topic was dry but important: how to classify planets that might support life. The Velnari delegate stood to speak. She was tall and smooth-skinned, with gills along her neck that fluttered when she talked. Her people came from a world of shallow seas and constant rain, but those seas had dried up centuries ago due to a dying star. She listed 3 new planets found by Velnari scouts. All were rocky, all had thin air, and all held traces of frozen water deep underground. "These worlds," she said, her voice like wind through reeds, "may one day host outposts if we bring enough recycling units and moisture traps." Then the chair of the council, a calm, six-eyed being from the Orlan system, turned to Liam, Earth's delegate. "Do you have any worlds to report?" Liam stood slowly. His heart beat fast, but his voice stayed steady. "Yes," he said. "Earth, my home. It has water on it, lots of it. Oceans, rivers, lakes, even rain." The room fell silent, not the polite quiet of attention, but a deep, heavy hush, as if every breath had been sucked away. The Zenthar delegate, a being made of interlocking crystal plates, let out a sharp, broken chime, its version of shock. A reptilian envoy from the Krell system blinked all 4 of its eyes at once. Even the floating jelly-like Sulians stopped pulsing for a full 3 seconds. Water. On the surface. Liquid. Flowing. To them, this was impossible. In all known space, no planet held open water. Stars were too hot or too cold. Atmospheres blew away or collapsed. Water either boiled off into space or froze into rock-hard ice under miles of dust. Every species here used machines to pull moisture from the air or recycle every drop from waste. Children were taught that oceans were fairy tales, beautiful lies told by elders to describe a time before the universe grew harsh. Liam did not understand their silence at first. On Earth, water was everywhere. People complained when it rained too much. They swam in it, drank it, wasted it without thinking. He only realized his mistake when the Orlan chair leaned forward and said very slowly, "You claim your world has standing liquid water. Exposed to the sky?" "Yes," Liam said. "About 70% of Earth's surface is covered in water. We call it the hydrosphere." A murmur rose, then swelled into a storm of whispers, clicks, and electronic beeps. The Karathi delegate, a broad-shouldered warrior with black armor and red eyes, stood abruptly. "This is a trick," he boomed. "No world keeps water open to vacuum and radiation. You lie to gain favor." "I'm not lying," Liam said, keeping his voice calm. "I can show you." The council debated for a moment in low tones. Finally, the chair nodded. "Very well. Present your evidence tomorrow. But know this, human. If you waste our time with fantasy, Earth will be marked as untrustworthy. That stain lasts generations." Liam returned to his quarters that night with a knot in his stomach. He called Olivia Ruiz, the head of Earth's Interstellar Relations Office, through a secure comms link. Her face appeared on the screen, tired but sharp-eyed. "They think I'm making it up," Liam said. "Of course they do," Olivia replied. "To them, water is like magic. We take it for granted, but out here, it's a myth. Send them real footage, not simulations. Real raw video from home." So Liam worked through the night. He gathered clips: waves rolling onto a beach in Oregon, a thunderstorm over Miami, a river winding through the forests of Canada. He included sensor logs showing temperature, pressure, and chemical composition. He even added a short clip of his niece jumping in puddles after a spring shower, laughing as rain soaked her hair. The next day, the council chamber was full. Word had spread. Delegates who usually skipped routine sessions now crowded the benches. Liam walked to the center platform, inserted his data chip, and activated the display. High above, a huge screen lit up. First came the ocean, deep blue, endless, moving with slow, powerful grace. Waves curled and crashed in white foam. Then came a forest stream, clear and cold, slipping over smooth stones. Then rain, fat drops falling on city streets, rooftops, leaves. The sound of it, soft, steady, natural, filled the room through hidden speakers. No one spoke. No one moved. The Velnari delegate reached up and touched her dry gills as if remembering a dream. The Zenthar crystals glowed faintly, shifting color in awe. Even the karate warrior stood still, his red eyes wide. When the video ended, the silence lasted 10 full seconds. Then the Orlan chair spoke, his voice hushed. "Is this real?" "Yes," Liam said. "All of it. Every day. All over Earth." A scientist from the Mylan Collective, a species of insectoid scholars, stood on trembling legs. "May we verify with our own probes? Our sensors?" "Of course," Liam said. "Earth has nothing to hide." Within hours, 3 science vessels from different systems requested permission to scan Earth. Earth's government, after a quick emergency meeting, agreed, but only if the scans were peaceful and shared openly with the Concord. As the session ended, Liam walked out of the dome into the warm light of Xylos Prime. He looked up at the sky, thinking of home. He missed the smell of wet grass, the sound of a dripping faucet, the weight of a full glass in his hand, things he'd never thought twice about. Now he realized those simple things made Earth special, not because of weapons or wealth or power, but because of something as basic as water. And the galaxy, for the first time, was paying attention. News of Earth's water spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Within a single cycle, every major newsfeed, data stream, and diplomatic channel carried the same headline: Blue World confirmed. Species that had never heard of Earth now studied its coordinates. Scholars dug through ancient texts, searching for forgotten legends of wet worlds. Children drew pictures of oceans they had never seen. For most, it was wonder. For others, it was opportunity. And for a few, it was a threat. Liam Carter found himself at the center of a storm he never asked for. Delegates who once ignored him now stopped him in hallways, asking questions in hushed tones. "Is it true you can stand in falling water and not die?" asked a young Sulian apprentice. "Do your cities float on the sea?" asked a Krell trader. Liam answered as best he could, always careful not to exaggerate. He knew one wrong word could spark panic or greed. Back on Earth, Olivia Ruiz and her team worked around the clock. The United Earth Directorate had expected curiosity, but not this flood of attention. Requests poured in. Scientific teams wanting to study rainfall, artists asking to record the sound of waves, religious groups claiming Earth was a holy site. Some offers were generous: clean fusion reactors, medical nanites that could heal broken bones in hours, even gravity stabilizers to end earthquakes. Others were less kind. A message from the Karate High Command demanded Earth share its water fairly or face consequences. It was not a request. It was a warning. Olivia called Liam again, her face tight with worry. "They think we're hiding something," she said. "Or worse, they think we're weak because we're new. We need to show we're serious but not scared." Liam nodded. "Then let's invite them. Not all at once. Not with open borders, but with rules. With respect." That idea became the seed of the Hydro Accord, a proposal Earth would present to the full Concord. It would allow limited, monitored access to Earth's water systems, not for extraction but for study and cultural exchange. In return, Earth would ask for technology that could help protect its environment and people. No weapons, no bases, no ownership. Just partnership. But before that could happen, Liam had to face the council again. This time, the chamber buzzed with tension. The initial awe had faded, replaced by hard questions. The Mylan scientist stood first. "Your data checks out," she admitted. "Our probes confirm liquid water across vast regions. But why has no one else found such a world? Why Earth?" Liam explained what he knew. Earth orbited a stable star at just the right distance. It had a strong magnetic field that shielded it from solar winds. Its moon helped steady its tilt, giving it predictable seasons. And life itself, tiny plants in the ocean, forests on land, helped keep the air and water balanced. "It's not magic," he said. "It's luck and care. We almost ruined it ourselves once. Pollution, overuse, climate shifts. We learned the hard way that water isn't endless even for us. A few delegates nodded. Others looked skeptical. Then the Karathi Admiral, Rask Vorn, rose. He was massive, his armor lined with battle scars, his voice like grinding stone. "You speak of care," he said, "but you sit on a treasure while billions across the galaxy drink recycled sweat. Is that justice?" Liam met his gaze. "We didn't choose to have water. And we won't hoard it, but we won't let it be taken either. Water isn't a weapon. It's life. And life must be protected, not plundered." Murmurs rippled through the room. Some agreed. Others thought Liam naive. Later that day, Liam walked through the garden courtyard of the Concord complex. It was a dry place with synthetic plants and misters that released a fine spray every hour, just enough to keep the air breathable for moisture-loving species. He watched a young Velnari child press its hand against a glass panel, showing a looping video of Earth's ocean. The child's gills fluttered with longing. That night, Liam received a private message. It was from an old historian of the Orlan people. The being shared a fragment of an ancient song, passed down for thousands of years. It spoke of a time when the sky wept and the ground drank and all beings bathed in the gift of blue. The historian wrote, "We thought it was poetry. Now we wonder if our ancestors once knew a world like yours." The next morning, the council held an emergency session. A Karathi scout ship had crossed into the outer edge of the Sol system. It hadn't fired weapons or sent threats. It simply hovered near Neptune, scanning, watching. Earth's early warning satellites tracked it closely. Tension rose on both sides. Olivia's voice came through Liam's earpiece during the session. "Don't let them frame this as aggression. Frame it as curiosity, even if it's not." Liam stood before the council again. "The Karathi ship is welcome to observe," he said. "But Earth's inner system is protected. We ask that all visitors announce themselves and follow peaceful protocols, not because we fear you, but because we value peace." Admiral Vorn scoffed. "Words won't stop thirst." "No," Liam said. "But sharing might." He then unveiled the first draft of the Hydro Accord. It was simple, clear, fair. Scientists could visit designated sites. Artists could record natural water sounds. No machines would extract more than a symbolic amount. Enough for a ceremonial cup, not a fleet. And every visitor would learn Earth's story, how humans nearly destroyed their own water and how they fought to save it. The proposal stunned the room. It wasn't about trade or power. It was about trust. The Velnari delegate was the first to speak in support. "We lost our seas," she said softly. "Let us remember what they looked like through your eyes." Others followed. The Mylan Collective offered to help monitor Earth's ecosystems. The Sulians proposed a joint archive of water sounds from across the galaxy, even if most were just simulations. Only the Karathi remained silent. As the session ended, Liam felt a strange mix of hope and fear. He had shown them water. Now he had to show them wisdom. And somewhere far away, near the edge of human space, a Karathi warship waited, not attacking, not leaving, just watching. The galaxy held its breath. Earth's message had gone out, but not everyone wanted peace. While most species debated the Hydro Accord with curiosity or caution, the Karathi saw only weakness. To them, water was not a gift to be shared, it was a resource to be claimed. Admiral Rask Vorn returned to his homeworld and spoke before the Karathi War Council. He called Earth's offer a trick wrapped in pretty words and warned that if they waited, others would take what should belong to the strong. Within days, 3 Karathi warships began moving toward the Sol system, not as scouts but as a show of force. On Xylos Prime, Liam felt the shift in the air. Delegates who once smiled at him now gave nervous glances. Whispers followed him down the halls. Some feared the Karathi. Others feared Earth might provoke a war it could not win. Even allies urged caution. "Do not test them," the Velnari delegate warned. "They respect only strength." But Earth had little strength to show. Its fleet was small, made of converted cargo ships and a handful of defense vessels built with borrowed alien tech. It had no planet-killer weapons, no cloaking shields, no battle-hardened admirals. What it had was something harder to measure: unity. For the first time in its history, every nation on Earth agreed on one thing: they would not give up their home. Olivia Ruiz worked with global leaders to prepare. Cities ran drills. Scientists hardened communication networks. Farmers stored extra food. And deep in orbit, Earth's defense grid came online, not to attack, but to speak. It was a system built not for war but for witness. Using old satellites, new sensors, and donated alien projectors, it could beam live images across the galaxy in an instant. Liam knew words alone would not stop warships. He needed to remind the galaxy and the Karathi what water truly meant. Not as a weapon, not as a prize, but as life. He called Olivia. "We can't fight them," he said, "but we can show them something they've never seen." She understood at once. The children. Yes, the children. On a quiet Tuesday morning in Chicago, a group of kids played in a park. A city worker turned on the sprinklers for the summer program. Water arced through the air in silver ribbons. The children laughed, ran through the spray, spun with arms wide, faces turned to the sky. A teacher filmed it on a simple handheld camera. No music, no script, just joy. That footage was sent to Liam. He did not edit it. He did not add sound effects or grand speeches. He simply loaded it into Earth's defense grid and waited. When the lead Karathi ship crossed the orbit of Mars, Earth's grid activated. Every comm channel, every public frequency, every diplomatic feed, even the Karathi's own military band, filled with the image. Not of soldiers, not of weapons, but of children playing in water. On the Karathi bridge, Admiral Vorn stared at the screen. His crew fell silent. Karathi young were raised in dry creches, taught discipline before speech, trained to endure thirst as a test of will. They had never seen a child laugh in falling water. They had never seen water fall from the sky just for fun. The image spread. Within minutes it was on screens across Xylos Prime, on Mylan research stations, in Sulian meditation spheres. A Velnari elder wept as she watched. A young Krell engineer whispered to his friend, "Is that what rain feels like?" Back on Earth, people gathered in town squares watching the same feed, holding their breath. They knew this was their only shield. The Karathi fleet slowed, then stopped. Admiral Vorn did not order an attack. He did not retreat. He simply watched the loop play again and again. Finally, he opened a channel, not to Earth's military but to Liam Carter. "Why show us this?" he asked, his voice less harsh than before. "Because water isn't ours to keep," Liam replied. "And it isn't yours to take. It's for everyone, even your children." Silence followed. Then Vorn said, "My son has never felt rain." "He could," Liam said gently, "not as a conqueror, but as a guest." The words hung in the air like mist. On Xylos Prime, the Conquered called an emergency session. The mood had changed. Even species that once doubted Earth now saw it differently. The Hydro Accord was no longer just a proposal. It was a test of the galaxy's soul. Would they treat Earth as a target or a teacher? The Orlan chair stood. "We have spent centuries believing water was lost. Now we find it not in a vault or a lab, but in the laughter of children. That is not a resource to be seized. It is a lesson to be learned." One by one, delegates voiced support. The Mylan offered to build monitoring stations to ensure no one took more than agreed. The Sulians pledged to guard Earth's orbital space with peaceful drones. Even neutral systems joined, saying that if Earth fell, the dream of a wet world would die with it. Only the Karathi remained quiet, but they did not move their ships. Liam returned to his quarters that night, exhausted but hopeful. He looked out the window at the stars and thought of Chicago, of rain, of small hands reaching up to catch drops from the sky. He knew the danger wasn't gone. Greed didn't vanish overnight, but something had shifted. The galaxy had seen not Earth's power but its heart, and hearts, unlike weapons, could change minds. The next morning, a new message came from the Karathi flagship. It was short, official, but the tone was different. "Request permission to observe Earth's hydrological cycle from a distance. No weapons active, no landing intended." Liam approved it at once. Later that day, he stood before the full council again. No grand speech. No demands. Just a simple truth. "Water isn't ours to give," he said. "It's ours to protect. And if you want to see it, you don't come with weapons. You come with respect." This time, even the Karathi delegate nodded. The tide had turned. Not with fire, but with a single drop of rain. The Concord's vote came 3 days later. It was not close. Over 90% of member species approved the Hydro Accord. Even the Karathi, after long debate among their own leaders, did not block it. They did not cheer, but they stayed silent, and in galactic politics, silence from a warrior race was as good as support. Earth was no longer just a new voice in the room. It was now a symbol, a living reminder that some things mattered more than power or profit. Liam Carter walked through the halls of the Concord complex with a new kind of attention on him. Not suspicion, not pity, but respect. Delegates nodded as he passed. Some even asked for small favors, not for technology or secrets, but for something far simpler. "Could your people send a recording of morning dew?" asked a young Mylan researcher. "Our elders say it used to glisten like stars." Another, a Sulian artist, requested permission to stand on an earth beach for just 1 hour, to feel sand and water mix beneath their gelatinous feet. Earth said yes to all of it as long as the rules were followed. No machines to drain rivers, no samples larger than a cup, no interference with natural cycles. Visitors would come as students, not conquerors, and they would leave with more than data. They would leave with understanding. Back on Earth, Olivia Ruiz oversaw the creation of the first official welcome sites. 3 locations were chosen, one on the coast of Oregon, where the Pacific met forested cliffs, one in the highlands of Scotland, where rain fell softly over green hills, and one in Costa Rica, where rivers ran clear through jungles alive with birds and frogs. Each site had simple platforms, viewing areas, and quiet zones. No cities, no factories, just nature, as it had been for thousands of years. The first official visitor arrived not in a warship, but in a small science vessel from the Velnari. It landed gently at the Oregon site on a misty morning. The delegate, an elder named Taylor, stepped onto the damp soil and stood still for a full minute. She closed her eyes, her gills fluttering as she breathed in air thick with salt and pine. Then she knelt and touched the wet sand. A tear, real, liquid, human-like, rolled down her smooth cheek. "It is real," she whispered. All of it. News of her visit spread. Others came. A Mylan botanist collected rainwater in a glass vial and held it up to the sun like a jewel. A group of Sulian youths floated above a lake watching fish dart below, their forms rippling with awe. Even a Karathi observer arrived, not in armor but in a plain gray uniform. He said little, but he watched the ocean for hours, his red eyes softening as waves rolled in and out like a slow heartbeat. Liam returned to Earth for the first time in months. He landed in Geneva, where the United Earth Directorate had set up its new interstellar welcome office. The city felt both familiar and strange. Streets once filled with cars now had quiet lanes for walking and shared transport. Rooftops bloomed with gardens, and everywhere there were signs, simple ones, that read, "Water is life. Protect it." He met Olivia at a cafe near Lake Geneva. The water sparkled under a clear sky. She looked tired but proud. "We're getting requests from over 50 species now," she said. "Some want to build schools here. Others want to send their young to learn about balance, not just biology." "And the Karathi?" Liam asked. "They've asked to send a cultural envoy," she replied. "Not military, a historian. They want to understand how a species that nearly destroyed its own world learned to heal it." Liam smiled. Maybe they're tired of dry wars. As weeks passed, Earth changed, not in its land or water, but in its place in the galaxy. It was no longer the quiet newcomer. It was the blue beacon. Schools across the galaxy added Earth studies to their curriculums. Poets wrote songs about rain. Engineers studied how Earth's ecosystems cleaned water naturally without machines. And slowly, other worlds began trying to mimic it, planting trees to hold moisture, building wetlands to filter waste, even creating small artificial rain cycles in sealed domes. But not all was easy. Some species struggled to grasp the idea of limits. A mining guild from the Helix Belt tried to bribe a local official near the Costa Rica site, offering rare metals for just a little extra water. The offer was refused, and the guild was banned from Earth visits for 10 years. Another time, a thrill-seeking Zenthar youth tried to dive into a protected coral reef, thinking it was just pretty rock. He was gently turned away, and his government issued a formal apology. Through it all, Earth held firm. Kind but clear. Open but guarded. Liam gave talks across the planet not as a diplomat but as a neighbor. He reminded people that their greatest strength was not in what they had, but in how they shared it. "We didn't earn this water," he told a crowd in Mumbai. "We were lucky, and luck must be treated with care." One evening he stood alone on a beach in Oregon, watching the sunset paint the waves gold and pink. A small group of alien visitors stood nearby. silent, watching too. No one spoke. No one needed to. The sound of the tide was enough. In that moment, Liam understood something deep and simple. Earth was not special because it had water. It was special because it chose to protect it, even when no one was watching. And now the whole galaxy was watching, not with envy, not with hunger, but with hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they too could one day hear rain. Years passed, and Earth became a place of quiet pilgrimage. Not for war, not for trade, but for wonder. Ships from every corner of the galaxy came. Not in fleets, but one at a time, like guests arriving at a home they'd only heard about in stories. They landed at the welcome sites, walked barefoot on wet sand, cupped rain in their hands, and stood beneath waterfalls with eyes wide like children. Some stayed for hours, others for days. None left unchanged. Liam Carter had stepped back from daily diplomacy. He lived in a small house near the Oregon coast, not far from the first welcome site. He grew vegetables in his garden, fixed his own roof, and often walked the beach at dawn. Visitors sometimes recognized him and asked to sit with him. He never refused. He would make tea, point to the waves, and say, "Watch how it moves. It doesn't rush. It doesn't fight. It just flows." He no longer wore a suit or a pin, but everyone knew who he was, the human who told the truth about water, and changed the galaxy by doing so. Olivia Ruiz still led Earth's interstellar relations, but her role had grown into something deeper. She now worked with scientists, poets, and teachers from dozens of species to build what they called the Blue Curriculum, a shared learning program about balance, care, and living with nature instead of against it. Schools on dry worlds taught students how to grow food with minimal water. Cities rebuilt their systems to mimic Earth's rivers and wetlands. Even the Karathi, once feared for their harsh ways, opened a desert academy where young warriors learned patience by tending small gardens under artificial rain. Earth did not give away its water. It gave away its wisdom, and the galaxy listened. One spring morning, a group of young aliens arrived at the Oregon site. They were from 5 different species, some with scales, some with fur, some with smooth skin like glass. They had never met before, but they had all come for the same reason. Their teacher, an old Velnari named Taylor, led them to the edge of the shore. "Today," she said, "you will feel what your ancestors only dreamed of." The tide was calm, the sun warm. One by one, the students stepped into the surf. A Milan youth gasped as cold water touched their feet. A Sulian rippled with soft light, overwhelmed by the sensation. A Karathi boy, tall and serious, stood still for a long time before slowly kneeling and letting a wave wash over his hands. He looked up at Taylor, eyes bright. "It's alive," he said. She nodded. "Water remembers everything it touches." Back on Xylos Prime, the Galactic Concord had changed too. New rules were written, inspired by Earth's example. Planets could no longer be stripped bare for resources without proving they could heal the land. Species that polluted their air or poisoned their seas faced sanctions, not just for breaking laws but for breaking trust. The idea of care had entered galactic policy, not as a weakness but as strength. Liam was invited to speak at the Concord's 10th anniversary of the Hydro Accord. He stood in the same dome where he had once been ignored, now filled with beings who looked at him with quiet gratitude. He did not give a long speech. He simply held up a small glass filled with clear water from a mountain stream in Colorado. "This," he said, "is not mine. It is not Earth's. It belongs to the future. And the future is watching us all." After the session, delegates from over 30 species lined up to shake his hand, or touch his arm, or hum a note of thanks, depending on their kind. Among them was the son of Admiral Rask Vorn. He was not a soldier. He was a student of hydrology. He carried a small journal filled with sketches of clouds, rivers, and raindrops. "My father never saw rain," the young Karathi said, "but I have. 3 times. Each time I cried, not from sadness, from fullness." Liam placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you understand." "I do," the boy said. "And I will teach others." On Earth, life went on. Children still jumped in puddles. Farmers still watched the sky for rain. Cities still worked to keep rivers clean. But now they knew they were not alone. Their choices mattered beyond their own world. A plastic bottle tossed in a stream might seem small, but now a Milan child watching from orbit would notice. A tree planted in a city park might seem ordinary, but a Sulian poet would write a song about its leaves catching morning dew. Humanity had not become rulers of the galaxy. They had become reminders that abundance could be shared, that power could be gentle, that the simplest things, water, air, soil, were the most precious. One evening, Liam sat on his porch as a light rain began to fall. He closed his eyes and listened to the drops hit the roof, the leaves, the earth. It was a sound he had heard his whole life, but now he knew. It was also a sound of hope for others. Far away on a dry moon near the edge of Karathi space, a young scientist activated a new machine. It was small, powered by solar cells built using plans shared freely by Earth. It pulled moisture from the thin air and released it as a fine mist. Not enough to grow crops, not enough to fill a lake, but enough for one drop to fall on a child's palm. The child looked up, smiling, and somewhere, the ocean kept moving.